comedian, and I also am a comedian who is often topical. I talk a lot about the news. And I've had it said to me a few times, once when I was recording Breaking the News, once when I was doing the news quiz, that, oh, you must be loving Trump being in power. It must be great. It must be great for comedy. And I'm here to say, I think the opposite. I personally think Trump is bad for comedy. Okay, let me list the reasons. Number one, the things that Trump says are so absurd that you can't make them funnier. They're almost unbelievable. I was writing for the Now Show in Trump's last uh, term in power. Now, the Now Show, for those of you who are not in the UK, it's a satirical radio show which no longer is on air. But in that radio show, you would, as a comedian, come and do a 5 minute comedy set about anything. And I was doing a 5 minute comedy set at that time about Donald Trump arguing with Kim Jong Un, um, calling him Fatty Fatty Kim and stuff like that. It was a very, very bizarre story. And I remember that I managed to squeeze out a bunch of jokes, write a bunch of jokes, but some of the things they wouldn't let me air. For example, I had a scene in which Donald Trump was like leader of the A team, like B.A. Baracus, and I had him saying ridiculous things that not B.A. Baracus, that Hannibal in in the A team would say, I love it when a plan comes together, and all these things that were clearly ridiculous. And the BBC said we can't air that. And I said, why can't I air that? And they said, because people won't know that it's satire. So they can make any sensible politician say any ridiculous thing and it's obviously a joke, so they can't be sued. But with Trump, they're like, the things you're writing, even though they're absurd, are within the realm of possibility for him. And that's the key thing. Like, this man could say anything. This man could do anything. Now, that may seem like a recipe for comedy, but it's not. It's also a number of things beyond the fact that he's so absurd. Like SNL recently um, did a sketch about Zelensky and Trump in the Oval Office. And I'll tell you what's amazing. They mainly just quoted him. They added a bit of acting. Of course, Michael Myers was funny as Elon Musk, and they had funny acting. But in terms of the script, the writing, they could pretty much use lots of what was actually said. So, number one, it's hard to out absurd the absurdity. Okay. Number two, his fans are very passionate, is what you would say if you were being reasonable, or to the extreme of culty. So I released a comedy special some years ago called What the African Said. And in the comedy special, I literally talked about Trump for 2 minutes amidst talking about all sorts of other subjects. And what was amazing is in the comments underneath, I have a whole long video called The Scale of Hate, which I'm very proud of. I talk about all sorts of things, all sorts of nuanced comedy. I mentioned Trump for a minute, and I can tell you that 80% of the comments was just hate from Trump fans. They will bombard you to the point that sometimes you don't even want to address it because you're like, I'm going to have to deal with all these haters bombarding me. Now, I will say Trump too. I've not actually experienced that as much. I don't know if they're more focused on other. Maybe it's actually, you know what? It's probably that I'm getting less views. I'm not in their algorithms. But back then it really made me just think, like, do I want to be fighting these people and having my fans fighting them all the time? That also doesn't make you want to talk about Trump. But number three, and here's another one, is I also think that how do I say this? I also think that people get tired of it. Okay? People get tired of Trump because there's more and more absurd things every week. And every comedian's talking about it. Every time you click on the television, it's on again. And I'm not even in the US, right? I wonder how exhausted people are in the US. I'm in the UK and it's on the channel all the time. Right now it's all tariffs, 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 Trump and his tariffs thing. The week before, it was all about him and his immigration policy and people being chased to El Salvador. And it's so many things. And a lot of them are depressing or worrying. I mean, like the cutting off of US aid was actually something which I know people who work in the charity sector in Africa who were telling me that they are AIDS medicine which can't get to the people who need it, that children are going to die. It's all very depressing. And number one, maybe it's too depressing for comedy, right? Number two, you feel futile, it's depressing, the audience gets tired of you talking about the subject. And it's also hard to get a new angle because let's say 5,000 comedians are all talking about the same subject. There's a finite number of angles. So I wrote some jokes about the tariffs, right? I wrote a bunch of jokes about the tariffs. Um, and I don't think they were great, but they were funny and they got a laugh, and I was quite happy that they got a laugh. One of the things I would do was talking about a trade deficit, trade deficit, and how the audience have a trade deficit with me, and so I'm going to raise the price of my tickets. There was another thing where I was talking about. I mean, it was just all a few angles, but then I would be online and I would see another comedian who has a very close angle to me. I was watching the Daily Show and they had a joke that was a very close angle to me, not because anybody stole any jokes, because there's only a finite amount of approaches in which you can address a topical subject. I mean, I'll give you a perfect example. Whenever anything happens in the news, go to Twitter and see the Twitter jokes. And you will see some of the same jokes come from three or four different minds. So if you want to be original, you have to be obscure. Like I do have an original Trump joke, but that's from reading Art of the Deal and talking about Art of the Deal. But in terms of talking about his actual actions, it's very hard to be original. So I suppose there's probably more to it. His fans, also, he's very divisive. People who love him are liable to heckle you. Not that that's gonna make me not do a joke, but I'm just saying the people who love him really love him. So it's his fans. Hard to be original. It's tiring. And then also, people are like, oh, aren't you happy being a comedian to have this insane stuff to talk about? No, I have to live in this world. And being stressed about, you know, what's going to happen to the global economy. Are we going to burst into some kind of war? Are we going to have all, there's so many things. And then also sometimes you feel trivial. You feel trivial if you do jokes about, oh, he's done a few tariffs, or oh, he said something ridiculous about Greenland, while ignoring the fact that this is a person who was convicted of crimes and has, ascended to possibly the most powerful place in the world. Um, you know, uh, Rape allegations, fraud, all these things, and yet no bar to his success. How do you live in the dream that we're living in a fair planet, that we're living in a place where you're rewarded for good when this evidence is right there and it underpins any joke you can make, that it feels futile? I still am a topical comedian. I still will do a lot of jokes about the news, but I may just talk about other countries. Because look, I grew up in Africa. I grew up in Africa. And we had a lot of absurd people, probably way more absurd than Trump. Like Idi Amin. We had Idi Amin, possibly a cannibal in Uganda, who would say all kinds of stupid, crazy things and would do all kinds of crazy things. But the difference is his actions did not have global repercussions. Yes, it was terrible for the people of Uganda, but you know what I mean? Any insane thing he did not have ripples. The ripples of Trump are impossible to predict. So, as a comedian, I think the most I can do is make you laugh, make you forget the frustrations of life. And I will keep dipping into Trump on occasion, but I will try to talk about other things which are um, less futile. This was Daliso Chaponda. See you next